Hi friends, this conversation is based in the context of International Men's Day. International Men's Day is observed globally on November 19th to acknowledge the positive value men bring to families and communities and the world at large. But we hardly find people talking about basic humanitarian values towards men. There's hardly any awareness towards men's issues, their plights. However, there are few women in our country who have been relentlessly working towards men's rights and their problems. Deepika Narayan Bhardwaj is one such lady whose name tops this list. Deepika is an Indian journalist, documentary filmmaker, and a men's rights activist from New Delhi. In times when everyone is empathetically talking about women's rights, Deepika makes a strong case for protection of rights of men too, whether it's false accusations or domestic violence or sexual crimes. Absence of laws in India to protect men from mental cruelty, domestic violence, sexual harassment, stalking, or any gender-based offense have been causing destruction of lives and families. Absence of many compensation schemes specifically for men who are victims of injustice because of false prosecutions, denial of basic human right of access to their own children for separated fathers, ignorance of lawmakers towards rising number of suicides by men, society's apathy to mental health issues faced by men are some of the key issues plaguing lives of men in our country today. And Deepika vociferously speaks about ending this discrimination. She has become a prominent voice for men's rights in India after her documentary film Martyrs of Marriage, which is about abuse of Section 498A anti-dowry law of Indian Penal Code by brides and their families. Martyrs of Marriage got a global release on Netflix in 2018. She has given various TEDx talks bringing to light injustice faced by men in India and continue to spread awareness around this subject. Deepika's latest documentary film, India's Sons, showcases lives of those men who were falsely accused of rape and later honorably acquitted by the courts, outlining misuse of rape laws in India. In 2010, Deepika was selected as one of the 10 journalists from around the world to attend Future Media Leaders course by Thomson Foundation. Her first documentary shot, Grameen Dak Sevak, was Jivika All Asia Livelihood Film Festival Student Film Winner in 2009. Deepika has graduated with a BTech from Technological Institute of Textile and Sciences. She holds a postgraduate diploma in television journalism from Indian Institute of Journalism and New Media. Her personal story has been covered by BBC as part of their series Asian Women to Watch For in 2017. So welcome Deepika to IndiGlobal Talks.
Thank you so much for having me on your show on this occasion of International Men's Day. And thanks for all the kind words that you have shared about me. It's an honor to be here.
So Deepika, we are really privileged to with your presence because you have been doing lots of things for men's rights which people are really not even talking about or even not thinking about. I would like to begin with how did you think of working on men's issues when you were making your documentary film? What was the idea behind this topic?
Okay, I will not extend it too much, but in a very nutshell, if I may share that the idea or the zeal to do this work is born out of my personal experience. There was a marriage breakdown in the family because of extramarital affair of the woman, And this marriage was sort of a planned marriage because the person whom she had affair with was her own boss. So, because of societal pressure or because of parental pressure or because of XYZ, we do not want to get into that. The girl got married in the family, and within 3 months, the marriage broke down. There were several and more evidences of this relationship having been there before marriage and continuing after marriage as well. And we had several messages, we had several conversations, we had everything documented. And there was, like any progressive family, a mutual consent divorce filed because neither of the parties were living to, be with each other. Especially the woman did not want. So, like any rational family, any rational people, we opted for mutual consent divorce. But in the 6 month schooling period, that was withdrawn by the woman's side, and then came the allegations of that she was being harassed and tortured for dowry. She was being beaten up every day. There were personal allegations in me as well, and until that point, I was always somebody who had actually stood up for stranger women during my travel, during my wherever I would, if I would see something wrong happening to a woman, I would stand up and actually pick up fights for people who were not known to me. And to have allegations like that is a huge hit. And the at that time, when we went to the court, when the mutual consent divorce petition was withdrawn, it became very clear that the entire thing was done to extort money. And we were informed by several people that, no matter how many evidences you have, the laws are so skewed, the laws are so biased that it's her statement and it's just her verbal testimony that would be kept at above everything else, and your evidences would be seen at the trial stage. And before that, you will be arrested, your parents will be arrested, everybody in the family would be arrested. And the female side usually tries to implicate people who have little more influence in the society. So I, from my maternal side, have a lot of people in my family who are IAS, IFS officers. So we realized that we could probably get into a really bad soup. But still, we did not give up. But whatever people told us was very, very frightening. And it made me question the entire judicial process. It made me question the laws that we have. And it made me question the sufferings that people are going through as citizens of this country. And if that is happening only and only because of their gender. So these questions happened, and I started researching on this subject. And eventually, we did not get into the trap of an FIR and a criminal case because we presented our conditions, and although they were demanding hell amount of money, we clearly told them that these are the basic expenditures. Although we also pitched in for equal expenditures, but we still said that this is something that we could part ways with. This is the minimum amount that we can part ways with. If you're okay to take this, then you take it. Otherwise, you please go ahead and file any criminal case that you want, and we are determined to fight for our truth for the rest of our life. And because they were at mistake, they agreed to it, and the case went through. But the aftermaths of that were very traumatizing, and I saw my whole family get into immense trauma. There were bouts of depression, and it was very painful. And what I concluded looking at the entire thing is that, of course, there was a lot of breakdown in terms of divorce happening, and which is seen as a taboo in the society. And I'm talking about 2011, 10 years ago. These days, still there is a lot more, conversation around divorce, around separation, around live-in relationship, and we are maturing as a society to accept these things. But at that time, there was a lot of trauma, especially for old age parents. They're not of this generation, so obviously there's a lot of humiliation that they attach to something like a divorce. So there were a lot of consequences to that, and my conclusion was that one of the major things that lead people to end their lives and to commit suicide and to go into extreme depression is because they think that it is happening only to them. And hence, I thought in my experience as a documentary filmmaker, as a journalist, the way I could give back to people who supported me during my bad times. And there are a lot of people who I got in touch with who were working for men's rights. There was Save Indian Family that I got in touch with, and there I got to, meet a lot of people who were suffering through this. So I decided that the way I could contribute back to the society is by bringing awareness on this issue, because people do not tend to think about these things, and that's why people who actually go through these false accusations think that they are in a silo, think that they're completely discarded from the society, which is not the truth. There are thousands and thousands of families that are suffering today despite being totally innocent, and it's very unfortunate. But the reason for getting into this space was, like I said, personal. And then it sort of became a mission, because initially I had decided only to make this documentary, Martyrs of Marriage, and then get back to my job. But it's been 9 years now, since 2012. And every day I feel like contributing to this space, because I know the suffering that people are going through. And I know that is extremely important for a person like me who has a sensible and a rational voice to bring attention of thinkers towards this problem.
So you deserve kind of congratulations for working on this issue, because we see these kind of things happening to our loved ones, our near and dear ones, but we hardly work upon it. But you have come forward, worked upon it, and now when if someone Googles women activists working for men, then your name comes on the top of it. So you have really made a big difference in this whole issue, and I'm really proud that the kind of work that you are doing, and you
Thank
are
you so
a ray of hope to
Thank you.
many men.
Thank you.
So, Deepika, I would like to understand that there are some unrealistic and stereotypical projections of women, sorry, of men in media as well as in culture, culture as a whole. So, what are your take on this?
See, for the longest of times, we have considered men to be the protectors and the providers and the more responsible, and the person who will take care of everyone in the family. And there is no doubt that India has been a patriarchal society, and the hold of, or the uh, power structures have been always like that. It's a man who is the head of the family, and the rights have sort of flown down like that. So a lot of reasons are that, also because men have always been in the powerful position. So we tend to uh, anybody who brings food on the table is the person who is held responsible in any society, and all the expectations are from that person. And he's expected, to take care of everyone, whatever cost that comes to. Uh, Usually, a lot of men, in fact, just day before yesterday, there was a discussion on International Men's Day being celebrated and things like that. And when there's a company called Mankind Pharma, and they have come up with a hashtag called Nahi Chalta Hai, where they are talking about bad behaviors of men. So a lot of people did really feel very offended. It's not that what they're showing, is not the truth. Of course, there are people who demand dowry. There are people who indulge into, very bad behavior towards women. But on a day like International Men's Day, to completely focus on looking at men through the eyes of women and through the eyes of somebody else is sort of an injustice to them, I would say, because men are not only on this planet for women. Men are as individuals who contribute to the society, who work as engineers, as soldiers, and and they do so much for the entire progress of this planet. And to restrict them only from the prism of another gender, I think personally, it is unfair. It would be unfair to judge women on a Women's Day from the prism of the eyes of men as well, if I may say, right? So it is very unjust. And people were discussing about that, and a man just came up and said, we men do not even expect anybody to celebrate us. We men do not even expect anybody to acknowledge us. Uh, just maybe let us be, and let us sometime have some time for us also, and you would not find us complaining too much. And that sort of hit me, because they are so conditioned, to do something for the family, do something for the parents, do something for the sister, do something for the mother, do something for the wife, do something for the father, do something for the kutumb, and do something for your city, do something for your. So they are so conditioned to do something for others that they rarely tend to, internalize that what is important for them, what do they want, uh, are they being restricted in what they want, because their conditioning is to do something for the others, and that are the stereotypes attached. Now, how these stereotypes are actually causing a rift, or how these stereotypes are actually causing issues is, I'll give you a few examples. When we, there's in the sake of being progressive, we say that men should not, not progressive, but in order to sort of start talking about men, some people say men should not cry. Sorry, men have the ability, men should cry, men should come out with their emotions, men should not be shamed when they cry. But when men cry, then you say that you're putting up a drama. When men ask for laws for them, then you say men are here to, take advantage of laws. When men say that they are also victims of domestic violence, then you question their experiences. So this is one. The second is, everybody demands from men to be contributional towards house chores, to be contributional toward upbringing of their kids. But when the same men say that, maybe then that's a good idea to have a paternal leave, so that they can also play an active role in the upbringing of a small child. And then we have the society and the some of the feminists come up and say that, you will not. And the Women and Child Development Minister of India says that, they will just while away time by getting such holidays. So, there's a lot of conflict, and I will end this question with a small observation that we want men to change, and we want men to become a better version of the human, that they desire them to. But the men who have actually become much better versions of men, the men who actually respect women, the men who actually have never demanded dowry, the men who have actually never been involved in domestic violence, get falsely accused of these crimes by women, but then nobody comes for their recourse. And that's where they tend to question this entire dialogue and this entire asking of men to become the better human beings. Because while on the one hand we are encouraging women to take up roles, while we are encouraging women to try things that they have stereotypically not tried, when we want men, to do such things, or to do things that they have traditionally not done, then we are not as encouraging, and then we tend to look at them with a very skeptical eye and do not have very encouraging point of view. So I think there's a lot of conflict because of this attitude and behavior.
Yes, so as you rightly said, we see things with a skeptical eye, especially when it comes to like divorce and when it is coming to the custody of the child. The men are facing enormous problems,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
you have been speaking, working towards these issues of men. So, what is your take on this? What problems really they face when it comes to divorce and the custody of child.
So, when it comes to divorce, I will not take too long. I will try to sum this up. Uh, and it's not just about divorce. Let me just, broaden this question. One thing is, first, men do not have laws for themselves. So whether it's mental cruelty and physical cruelty within marriage, which is criminalized only for a married woman through Section 498A of Indian Penal Code, it is only for a married woman. If a married man goes through cruelty and domestic violence, the only thing that he can have recourse to is a divorce on the grounds of cruelty. But invariably, in 99.9% cases, when a man moves divorce first on the grounds of cruelty, with all the legitimate, grounds, evidences, and the harassment that he has gone through, the woman invariably charges him and slaps with him a false 498A, domestic violence, section 125 of CRPC, and 406, and there's an endless list of the allegations then that get levied on the man or slapped on the man by the wife, and hence I have seen innumerable number of men who have been there in abusive marriages, not taking up a call to get out of those abusive marriages because they're extremely scared of the consequences of raising their voice. If not anything, if a woman decides to go legal and take separation course, then a man cannot really do all of these things because he doesn't have the laws. So one thing is this, one biggest challenge that I see is this, that there is absence of these provisions for men in the country when they are also going through same experiences. Another thing is um, the rape laws are only for women, the stalking laws are only for women, the sexual harassment laws are only for women. Uh, Domestic violence, like I said, is only for women. So all the gender-based provisions that we have in India are only for women, and there is no doubt that there is an overwhelming number of women out there who actively seek and need the protection of these laws. But it nowhere says that men cannot fall victims to similar behavior and experiences as well. And it's where it's injustice. It's against the constitution that the other gender is not provided recourse of the laws for these kind of crimes happening to them. The second part is the parental alienation and the child custody matters. Now, I'll give you a very small example. There was a recent judgment by the Delhi High Court where the woman actually left her two kids with the maid, very small kids. I think one of them was a toddler and one of them was maybe, I think, 4 or 5 years old. And she went to Goa to have a good time with her lover. And the father over here, who had been yearning to be with the kids and who was having visitation issues, also then was given only partial custody of the children because the court observed that the woman was being irresponsible towards the children. But what would have happened if it would have been the other way around? If a man would, first of all, men do not get the custody of kids. In 99% cases, the custody of the child is given to the mother. But in 1% case, if the kids would have been with the father and the mother would have come up with evidence-based, incident like that, I'm very sure that the custody would have been taken away from the father and given it to the mother. Let me share a very, very heart-wrenching experience with you. A friend of mine has been going through separation since the last 7 to 8 years, I guess. His wife abandoned him, deserted him within a few years of marriage, and the kid was actually born in the maternal house. This man, for the last so many years, has been making dire attempts to be in the life of his daughter. And on the sixth birthday of his, by the way, all the allegations that the wife filed were false. He has been able to prove that through evidence. There have been initiation of sort of perjury against her, of her lying to the courts. She produced fake bills that have been unearthed as well. And an educated woman doing all of this. Now, I can understand this woman may have had issues with this man, whatever it was, between them. I am sure they would have had issues, and because of which, all of this happened. But does that mean that this man is incapable of playing the role of a father? Does that mean that this man is incapable of being allowed to be a part of his child? So he called up, his daughter on her birthday, and what he heard was very shocking. And she was crying that I hate you so much. Do not ever call me. Do not ever talk to me. You're not my father. And when he asked that, who told you I'm not your father? She said, Mama has told me that you're not my father. So this is just one incident. Just yesterday, I was talking to a man that is, who is his case, who has fought his cases till the Supreme Court, filed public interest litigations. These are very learned, educated men who have showcased the kind of ideal behavior that we are expecting men to display or exhibit, but still they have not gotten the benefit of that. They are still viewed as the wrongdoer. They are still viewed as the troublemaker. They are still abused, and just on the basis of mere complaint of a woman, handled so badly by the police officers. I mean, there is absolutely no consideration given to them that probably they would be, in a sense, something, because um, just on the fact that they are men, they are presumed to be a wrongdoer. So, child custody and parental issue is a huge issue in India. It is not of concern of our lawmakers. It is not of concern of Women and Child Development Ministry, and it certainly should, because what's happening to these kids also needs to be. I feel there's a dire need to understand what these kids are going through and do something about it, because it's not just about men who are suffering, it's also about kids who are suffering and who are completely divided between two parents, and the kind of mental health issues they have and the kind of trauma they go through. And there have been a lot of cases where there have been reports where the child has been beaten up by the custodial mother really, really bad in order to take revenge from the father. I remember of a case from Pune where a child was killed by the custodial mother along with her lover. So, unfortunately, such cases, when they come from a man's side, usually get into the eyes of the judiciary. But when these crimes sort of come out from the side of a female, these are usually ignored as anecdotal incidents, which I think is a bad idea. I think uh, people are just very hesitant to do formal research on this on a larger level. If they actually do, then the picture would be clearer and some solutions can be figured out.
Yes, you are right, Deepika. And the worst sufferers, as you said, are the children, because when they compare their lives with their counterparts, they find themselves at loss.
Yes,
And it's very, very saddening when a mother is speaking against the father in front of the child and trying to stop the child to build any relationship. So it's disheartening for the father, but more disheartening for the child. He will never
absolutely.
be able to grow up in a normal human being. So
Absolutely.
yes, this is something which needs to be taken care by our lawmakers, which is not being taken care in the manner it should have been. Uh,
Correct.
Coming to another issue, like you have spoken about different examples of men, and they talk to you openly about their problems, trusting on you. So there is one problem of body image related problem. And what do they talk to you in this context?
Let me just widen the horizon again of your question. It's there's a lot of conversation on how women are judged on the basis of their looks. There's a lot of conversation on how women, the fair skin is a obsession in India when it comes to women, and I see a lot of feminist articles also on these subjects, whether it's obesity, a woman who's a fat a woman who is a dark woman, and the stereotypes and the judgments that we have around that. There are a lot of discussions around that, the body image of a woman and the body shaming and the judgments that we have around it, and how it impacts the psyche of women and how it impacts their confidence. But if you actually go and talk to men, there are so many men and young boys who also suffer from this, but that doesn't get talked about a lot. There are men who have told me that because they are very short, they have been shamed by the society, they have been mocked at. And I'm not saying it's just women mocking them or it's just men mocking them. As a whole, from a societal perspective, they're also called nata, bona, and all of these things that are usual the derogatory terms to mock somebody. And dark men are also mocked at. Dark boys are also made fun of in the society or in the college or in the school days. But something that I happen to hear more is this. More than, of course, body shaming and looks shaming and all of that is definitely a part of it. But what I hear a lot more is the kind of uh, askings or the kind of expectations that are there from men in the marriage market in India today. If you actually, we are denouncing dowry demand, we are denouncing any asking from the husband side for the bride. But at the same time, we do not have any problem with a woman and a family writing blatantly on their matrimonial profiles that the guy must have a 3 BHK, the guy must have a 10-figure salary, the guy must be, living alone, or the guy must be willing to settle down separately with a woman, and the guy must have a vehicle, the guy must have this, the guy must have that. There are so many demands listed in the profiles of women today, but nobody talks about that. It is looked down upon, and there's so many stand-up comedies and satires and slam poetry and things like that that are done on um, uh, the choices that men have, or the choices that men make while selecting a partner, but we never look with the same eye at the choices that women want to make when they're choosing their partners, and they're not very different. They're almost the same. Somebody is going about on beauty, and somebody is going completely on money. So at both the places, you're not really looking into the person. You're not really looking into the individual, and you're giving importance to something else. Now, one choice is denigrated and derided and slammed, while the other choice is uplifted as a choice. So I think there are a lot of dubious standards over there.
Yeah. So, Deepika, when we were growing up, we all knew that the world is not good towards women. And as girls, we used to be told that udhar mat jana, zyada der raat ko bahar mat rehna. So we grew up with the notion that there can be some kind of sexual assaults as girls, as women. But we never talk about sexual assaults on boys, on men. We never think about it that they can be victims of sexual assaults as well. So, in this time, what is your tips for mothers or parents who are bringing up boys to make them understand that they can also be victims of these?
Well, when it comes to kids, I think I would not really want to bifurcate the advices, to be very honest. I think kids are very innocent. I think kids are very vulnerable, and I wouldn't divide girls and boys. I think something that Indian parents should definitely talk about is, and I have a 6-year-old niece, and admire my sister-in-law, and I respect her that she has taught my niece about good touch and bad touch. And I think every parent needs to, tell their child about a good touch and a bad touch, so that whether it's a girl child or a boy child, and parents must not presume that just because it's a boy, he cannot be sexually abused either by a man or by a woman as well. So I think the teaching has to be gender neutral. Teaching has to be to both the genders, and along with that, I think we what we really need to do is, while we are asking our girls to stand up for themselves, and while we are asking our girls to um, not bow down to any guy who bullies her or any guy who misbehaves with her, we also need to tell our men or our boys to also be very strong and not let anybody bully them, whether it's a boy or a girl, especially if it's a girl, and not tell them that, just because if it's a girl, she can, you never have to raise your voice no matter what wrong she is doing to you. I think that's a wrong teaching. We must teach our girls also that while they should fight or they should stand up for themselves, if a boy is being wrong to her, we also need to tell our girls that they need to give the respect to boys and men just like they give it to girls and women. We should not base respect on gender. We should respect the person who deserves respect, and we should give respect to people irrespective of their gender. And bullying or bad behavior or wrong behavior or beating somebody up or abusing somebody, if that has not to be done, it has not to be done with anybody. So coming back to the sexual abuse of boys point, there has been research way back in 2007. In fact, I think it was done by the organized by the Women and Child Development Ministry only, and it is very sad that it has been so many years and such a research has not been done again. That sort of tells you about the focus that our ministries have towards the well-being of a boy child. But a huge percentage, I think it was a bifurcation of 49-51. And if I remember correctly, there were more boys who were sexually abused than girls who were sexually abused, as per that research. And sexual abuse of young boys is also rampant in the society. I personally, because there are a lot of people who raise voice or who raise red flags when a girl child is exploited by a man. I have raised several issues on social media where a boy child was a victim of sexual assault or sexual abuse by a female. And there have been incidents that have been so bizarre that, a 14-year-old boy has been kept captive by his teacher who was sexually abusing him. Young boys have been there has been a young boy there's been a case where a young boy was being sexually abused by an elderly lady, and he was a minor while she was a major. But when he complained, it's the woman who ended up filing a rape case on him. So sexual abuse of boys is again a very ignored topic. And with that, if I may add, there are adult men whose consent is violated too, but they are not looked at from that point of view as per our laws.
So this is a very rare topic which is being discussed amongst men as well, as far as I think, about sexual assault on them. All of must have gone through it in some point of their time, but they have not been brought up that way that they can really talk about it. Apart from this sexual assault, they are regularly going through physical, verbal, financial, mental, emotional abuse in some form or the other. Because they are breadwinners, so they go through it regularly in offices as well. Though women are also breadwinners increasingly, But since the pressure of financial security, to bring financial security to the family, is on men, as far as our society goes. So they go through these different kind of abuses, and they kind of take it for granted. So what do you have to say about this? These so many abuses
Absolutely,
that men go.
absolutely. Like I said, they are taken for granted at the workplace. They are um, pressurized to perform. Nobody actually thinks of uh, if they are being pushed to the end, pushed to the extreme end. And when it comes to interpersonal relationships, whether it is young girls or boys being in relationship, or it is a marital relationship, the financial onus still till date is usually on the man. And the as much as I have understood, over the last so many years, they don't really want any acknowledgement of that. They don't really want any appreciations for that. But all that they are now have started to question is that, if you say that despite being entirely independent, despite being equally educated, if you are putting all the expectations on me, then what does this equality really stand for? If you are getting married, and if you have your parents parental side of assets also upon you, and if you also earn your salary, and then still you expect only the husband to be making the expenditures, and you are saving your entire thing with yourself. And I'm not saying this in cases where it happens with mutual understanding. With mutual understanding कुछ भी करो, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. लेकिन बहुत सारे cases में ऐसे देखती हूँ जहाँ पे the woman is earning very well, but she would keep all of her earnings to herself, and let the man make all the expenditures, and she thinks that is okay. I see so many cases जहाँ
I'll just interrupt you here. If suppose a boy and a girl is going on a date, so it's always the boy who is expected to pay the bill, isn't it? So
absolutely, absolutely. And a lot of it is actually bizarre, but I had read somewhere a feminist saying that, well, why wouldn't they pay? We do so much of makeup for them, so we have to fund our makeup products and all that nonsense. But let me be very frank. And this is no generalization of women. There are a lot of women who are breadwinners, who equally contribute to the household, who do much more actually than the man does. They take care of the office as well, take care of the kitchens as well, take care of the kids as well. So there are no generalizations here. But it's just that when a man is not catering to his responsibilities, it is very easy to question him. And the society also asks him a lot of questions, why are you not taking care of the wife? Why are you not taking care of the kids? If the woman goes to the court system and the legal system, there also the man has to answer a lot of questions. But in reverse situations, the society doesn't ask a woman if she is willing, if she is just sitting at home and not doing anything despite being educated and asking her husband for maintenance. The judges are not asking, hello, why are you asking for maintenance? Why don't you just go and work? They are putting men into jail for not paying maintenance. They're giving a lakh and a half, 2 lakh of maintenance where the husband is earning really well. Well, this is a guy who has spent the last 15 years of his life building up his career. Just because a woman got married to him 2 years ago, and now she has left him, and or they are not compatible with each other and all of that, and the violence has not been proved, no allegations have been proved, and you're giving her so much of maintenance. On what grounds? I mean, this is not equality. And unfortunately, these questions are not raised. If a woman has an extramarital affair, it is called a choice. If a man has an extramarital affair, then he's called a womanizer, and an irresponsible husband, and an irresponsible family man, and whatnot. So I see the double standards increasing a lot. When a woman asks a man to keep giving her gifts on various occasions that come in a year, and if that man is not able to give as expensive gifts as she expects. Nobody raises a question on that. But if a man expects the woman to give her salary too for the household expenditures, then he can be questioned, and he's ridiculed also. कि अरे देख बीवी का पैसा ले रहा है, So, and he cannot say anything. So we are conditioning men to cater to the stereotype that we have always, put on them. On the other hand, we are asking women to get out of those stereotypes that we have attested to them. But the questions being asked when these stereotypes are concerned are very different and very dubious. And there is financial abuse that are happening with men in the country. There is verbal abuse that is happening. He's mocked for his performance. He's mocked for his sexual performance as well. If a man says, ever says anything to a woman on base of her sexual performance, well, that would be a very big thing, especially if it's being discussed in the court of law. घरों में तो खैर बहुत सारी चीजें होती हैं जो सबको नहीं समझ में आता है, लेकिन अगर एक आदमी बोल दे that she is sexually this thing or whatever, then वो एक हमारा बहुत बड़ा चीज हो जाता है कि how can you abandon a woman just because of this thing. But when a woman goes to the court and she says he's impotent, when he's not impotent, then that is considered a legitimate reason. There is verbal abuse कि अपने माँ बाप को बाहर निकालो, नहीं निकालोगे तो तुम्हारे के ऊपर केस कर दूंगी. There is there are questions raised कि तुम इतना कमाते नहीं हो, तुम इस चीज के लायक नहीं हो, तुम इस चीज के लायक नहीं हो, taunts all the time, तुम्हारा घर ऐसा है, तुम्हारे पास तो ये भी नहीं है, तुम्हारे पास तो वो भी नहीं है. So these things are taken for granted. These things are not discussed. And that's why there are a lot of men who keep suffering inside and they never speak up. And let me tell you, let me be very honest. I do not have the resources to conduct such researches, but I think it's very important to conduct such researches because I am contacted by so many men. Just last night, I spoke to a man for about an hour. He has been going through domestic violence by his wife for years and years and years. He has been recording a lot of these abuses because only and only for the reason that the people will not believe him. And he said, ma'am, please believe me. Ma'am, please believe me that I've been to the doctor thrice because she smashed my hand and my fingers got broken. And when I went to the doctor, I just made up an excuse कि दरवाजे के बीच में आ गई थी. And the doctor told me, you are being abused, you have to please speak up. And he has all of these evidences, but again, if he now files for divorce, his wife has all the wherewithal to actually file a dowry domestic violence case on him. And so it's become so difficult for men to get out of abusive marriages in India, and nobody seems to be giving any heed to it, which is very sad.
But people like you are working for this cause. There are other women also, and as I said, you top the list of such ladies. So keep on doing your good job, and women like me are very inspired by all that you do. And let's celebrate all the men in our families, our brothers, our husbands, our fathers, our sons, all the men in our in-laws side, everyone, our friends, and in the society as a whole. And happy International Men's Day to all the people who are watching this video.
Thank you so much. I just want to request your audience to please do watch my documentary Martyrs of Marriage, which is available on YouTube. I am coming up with my film on men who were falsely implicated in rape cases and then were honorably acquitted by the court. It is yet to release, but I'm holding a premiere in Delhi in December. Anyone who has heard this talk today, any man who has heard this talk today, any woman who has heard this talk today, if you wish to connect with me for any reason whatsoever, I'm available on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, at Deepika Bhardwaj, Deepika Narayan Bhardwaj. You can reach out to me. And the best way to reach out to me is through my email ID, which is dnbhere@gmail.com. So my last word is only this, that a lot of men tend to end their lives because they feel so stuck because of the biased attitude of society, people not listening to them, the judicial process being very harsh on them. But my humble request is please do not give up. There are a lot of men's rights organizations today in India. You can Google Save Indian Family, Save Indian Family Foundation, Sahodar Trust. You can reach out to these organizations and seek help from them. So never think of suicide, please.
So on this positive note, we will end this conversation and thank you, Deepika.
Thank you so much. My pleasure.